This is the voice of the Report of the Week, signing on. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone listening. This is VORW Radio International, the voice of the Report of the Week. It is Thursday, the 24th of January, 2019. You also may be listening to this broadcast on Friday, the 25th of January, Saturday the 26th, or Sunday the 27th of January 2019. VORW Radio International is a weekly light entertainment program which features a mixture of my talk and commentary as well as listener-requested music. VORW Radio International can be heard online via TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud, and on the international shortwave frequencies of 9955 kHz, 9395, 7780, 7730, 7570, 7440, 6070, 5950, 5850, and 4840 kHz. No matter how you're listening, when you're listening, or where you're listening from, I wish you good reception conditions, and I hope you enjoy this broadcast. Well, pretty much our second to last program for the month of January. Granted, for any listeners who tune in on Saturdays or Sundays, then this is the last program, even Fridays too. But you know, the last program that will fully air in January. I hope this month has been a pleasant one for you. My goodness, dear listeners, how time flies! Like it's surreal. This is something that we've been through quite a bit, but it never fails to captivate, in a way. How fast it goes by, my goodness. It just seemed I can't believe January is almost over. I think a lot of those same sentimentalities exist in all of us. I could even look further back. I was looking at some old pictures the other day on a flash drive, actually. Yeah, I still have it here in the studio, and I was going through it, and I was looking at some old pictures from 2007. It was, and they were just some pictures from a vacation I had taken when I was younger to Newfoundland, Canada, and I'll never forget it. It was a beautiful place. Visited, of course, Quebec, Montreal and Quebec City, and then went through, just Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and then into Newfoundland, Canada, and just toured about. And, I remember that so vividly. And I look at those pictures, and, I kind of reminisce. It feels so recent, yet here we are. Getting close to that being 12 years. 12 years having gone by. How incredible that is. But time is what it is, It's what can you do about it, really? What can you do about it? You can't do anything, really. Time simply does what it always has done, and that is moving forward. A good phrase I'll sometimes think of when it pertains to time, at least in how it affects us, is although the past has been written, we still control the future. And I think that's, some food for thought. We have the past behind us, our successes and our failures, our accomplishments and regrets, but we still do have the future ahead of us. And it really is a blank slate. It's something that we truly can control. Sometimes we'll feel trapped, as though, well, we really can't. You're kind of stuck on a certain path. I felt that way. I've had those feelings before. But it felt tough. Felt like I was doing something wrong. But I strayed away from that path. And I have no regrets doing so whatsoever. Despite any of those feelings I had at first. It was simply because I was doing something that I had never done before. But I have no regrets for that. Just remember, the future is open, and it is yours to do with as you please, though. I beg of you, try to be a decent human being. That's my message for 2019. Try to be a good person. Anyway, on a brief note, I guess a few brief notes, we'll get it out of the way, why not? We do have some new broadcasts to Europe. I tried to promote them in the past. To what success, who knows? But they go out at 10 hours UTC. That's 11 a.m. CET. The broadcast from a transmitter in Germany, channel 292. I believe they definitely put a few kilowatts behind it, and you can tune in every Thursday at 6070 kilohertz or 7440 kilohertz. It's just another effort to try to reach our European audience. We had the first show on those frequencies air last week. And of course, when you're doing the first, really anything, you don't expect the most feedback, so I'm going to be interested in seeing over the next few weeks, just how reception ends up being, if there's a trend. But, so far so good. A few emails came in. Not a ton, but I wasn't really expecting a deluge at this point. But a listener in the Netherlands wrote in, got some reports from the UK, from, I believe, Northern Europe too, a few listeners in, I think, Norway and Denmark, and I believe a listener in Germany wrote in as well. So, it's getting out there. The broadcast is. One reason why I wanted to try to use a site based in Germany anyway, is I was reading that certain automobiles still actually have the shortwave band in the car, and they can pick up some of the frequencies like 6070 kilohertz. Now, in reality, how many motorists am I actually reaching right now? That's quite debatable, but it's worth a shot. The statistics from my YouTube channel show that there are many viewers from Germany, so hopefully we'll be able to reach a few listeners in Europe through these new broadcasts. Have them going for a few weeks, and then from there we'll be able to just determine the success rate or otherwise. If you're listening into this broadcast right now, good way to let me know you're listening. And a few people have asked, if I listen on SoundCloud or TuneIn, should I still write in? And my answer is absolutely. Absolutely, yes. It is the only way that I know that anyone is listening. And not only do these listener emails help out in establishing, how many people are tuned in, etc., but your feedback is very valuable to this program too. So I know, alright, do you like the show? Do you hate it? Do you really hate it? For some odd reason that maybe I don't want to know, you still turn on the shortwave and listen to it every week, So your feedback is always appreciated, because number one, I need to know there's an audience, and number two, I like hearing your thoughts on the show, and of course any shout-outs, music requests, dedications, etc. But if you want to write in, you can send me an email, vorwinfo@gmail.com, vorwinfo@gmail.com is that address. No matter where, when, or how you're listening, it'd be great to hear from you. So, on one other thing, we got some good feedback for the lecture last week on the difficult decisions. And over the last week, of course, I've been contemplating this show and what to essentially do with it, if anything. And, a lot of people, despite any response on the survey, directly contacted me and said, don't change anything. I like the show as it is. You do a good mixture of, some people even said the right amount, of talk and music. Where you have that good balance of any lectures and stuff you could spew out, and then some various music as well. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. Maybe, I guess at this point it's kind of half and half, 50% talk for those who enjoy it, and 50% music for those who enjoy it. And, those percentages aren't going to remain in place as they are. Of course, some weeks there might be more music, some weeks there might be more talk, and it simply is what it is. This program today is just going to be covering some miscellaneous topics, maybe even a few that we got as requests from listeners. And it's just going to be some general discussion, and then we'll just get on to your music requests and dedications and more. First thing that I just wanted to say that's been in my own mind, and then we'll get on to your listener-submitted topics to talk about. I was thinking about this an hour or so before I picked up the mic just now. I was thinking back to a lecture that I gave around Thanksgiving Day. And I think it's just something that, in my opinion anyway, is appropriate any time of year. I'll just keep it short and to the point. Everyone's life is different, and almost all of these things that I'll be talking about are circumstantial. You know, it varies from person to person, so how this may be of significance to you would be completely different from how it would be to the next person. This is one of those things that applies independently to you in your own way, and you're the only person that would really be able to answer to that. And that's just, you know, one thing that I feel is appropriate to share is just how important it is, in my view anyway, to show that thankfulness, gratitude, and appreciation to the people and things that keep us going in life. Like I said, that's unique for everyone. As a result of that, we can all show our gratitude and appreciation in different ways. If it's loved ones, you know, maybe, and again, in your own way, just make sure you tell them that you love them and you know that they mean a lot to you. I think that's such an important thing that some people kind of just take for granted. But just make sure that those people that are of significance to you, that keep you going, just make sure you let them know. I think that's a very important thing in life. And of course, if it's in regards to pets or anything that isn't even related to family and friends, there's still ways of showing that appreciation and giving back. That's just a little food for thought that's also been in my mind lately. I think it's such an important thing to do in this life. So with that off my chest, it's just, you know, I wanted to just get that out there. We're going to get into some listener-suggested topics. If you would like to request a topic to be talked about in upcoming shows, just shoot me an email at vorwinfo@gmail.com. I can't guarantee you that I will end up talking about this suggestion, but if you do not throw that suggestion at me, and you don't toss your hat in the ring, then there is almost no chance whatsoever that your topic proposal will ever be addressed, unless someone coincidentally brings it up. So you have nothing to lose, and if there's something you want to hear my thoughts on, go for it, and I'll try my best to address it and share a few tidbits on it if I feel qualified and comfortable to do so. Alright, dear listeners, well, I have 3 topics which I want to get to in today's program, and then we'll get to some music. I might even do a little bit of a music break in between some of these topic discussions. But anyway, these are 3 topics suggested by the listening audience, and as I mentioned, if you would like to get your topic on the air, all you need to do is send me an email at vorwinfo@gmail.com. So the first topic I wanted to get to is touching upon a real-world event that it's kind of funny. You know, it's just funny how the news cycle is. It's always been this way, always will be this way. You know, people have a short attention span, and that applies to so many things as it does to current events. And I think some of us have already forgotten about this, despite it being so recent. But this topic comes from Robert. He says, I know you would prefer to keep politics off the air, but what did you think of the president's fast food feast at the White House? And for those of you who are unsure as to the context of it, in the media, about, I would say, 2 weeks ago, maybe it was a week and a half, Donald Trump was inviting, this winning college football team to the White House for a dinner. And because of the government shutdown, the White House kitchen staff were not there to prepare, a high-class dinner for this accomplished team of athletes. So Donald Trump, maybe it was one of his PR people, who knows, came up with the idea to prepare this massive banquet of fast food for this team. And they did it as a press release, and so you were seeing all these pictures of literal mountains of Big Macs and Whopper sandwiches and pizzas, so many that they were stacked in pyramids, and you had sauce packets. But the funny thing about it was you had all this fast food, yet it was being served on fine china and on this, precious silverware. And I think a lot of people got a kick out of the, just how it clashed. Where, you had these McDonald's sandwiches, how it clashed with the ornate nature of the White House. And a lot of people kind of had a field day with that. They were joking around, making a lot of, jokes and memes and all that stuff about it. Of course, a few people did raise the topic to my attention, because on YouTube I do have the interest in fast food, and I'll do the reviews of it. My 2 cents, I understand how a lot of people can find it funny. Even I kind of find it funny, seeing the pictures of all of these, burgers and everything on these silver platters and all of that, and just this candlelit fast food feast. But aside from the fact that it can make for a few good, jokes based on the circumstances, that's all that I saw to it. I didn't find it as any sort of despicable act or action, and I didn't see it as any sort of, terrible thing. I thought it was kind of funny. Of course, obviously, if, it's not like a steak dinner was impossible to prepare, but I think it was certainly a funny thing. And I mean, look at what it did, like him or not, it kept Trump's name in the news for another day, and it certainly got everyone talking. So those are really my thoughts. I think, aside from any little silliness that it may invoke, I think that there are far more pressing and concerning issues at hand in our day-to-day life that we really should be focusing on, instead of devoting an inordinate amount of time on such a menial and trivial thing. For instance, one thing that was far more newsworthy, and it did get some coverage, though only a fraction, was the pipeline explosion in Mexico. I don't know how many of you read about that or heard about it, but that was truly terrible, and it outlines a very serious problem going on in Mexico, where you have these fuel pipelines that are being tapped into and drained out. And I remember seeing a video of this, a few weeks ago, where lots of people cracked open this fuel pipeline and were literally just, taking fuel out of it by the bucket for their own use, for free. And I remember watching this, seeing hundreds of people doing this, and I remember thinking, if something happened, if someone lit a cigarette, or if someone shot at it, at the pipe, or even if there was a static discharge, which could definitely happen in such a dry climate, this whole thing would blow up and it would be so terrible. I remember watching that video and I had an eerie feeling about it. And then, sure enough, they did it again, and unfortunately no one was really that lucky. There was an explosion, probably 100 people dead, 100 plus wounded, and it just, goes to show it's a very serious issue, and it only got a fraction of the coverage that a bunch of burgers on a silver platter got. So that's my 2 cents on that anyway. The second topic is something that I can talk about for a while longer, and I will, and then we'll play some music. It comes from Nick in Wildwood, Missouri. He is a shortwave listener, regular listener for the broadcast. He says a possible topic in the future could be a discussion on the pros and cons of going to college, technical school, or going the entrepreneurial route. Is it a good idea to hold off going to a college for a year or so after high school graduation to decide on the future? Student loans. He says, my daughter will be making the decision in a few years, so I find it an interesting topic. Well, thank you, Nick, for your topic suggestion, and let's just hop right on into it, shall we? Higher education is a very tricky question and subject, if you ask me, because I think in many professions, having that piece of paper that says I graduated will end up being that key toward getting hired or not. And I think it is important to get educated, to get that education. In my opinion, not even for a job, but to just try to expand your mind a little bit. Just learn about new things, learn about what's going on in the world. I think education is such an important thing, and something we all really should expose ourselves to more. However, the one thing that bothers me, and it always has, in regards to college, is, that blur between, well, really the fact that it's a business. As much as some would, hate to admit, college is a business. And it's certainly a very expensive one at that. And that's where I have a disagreement in regards to. There's no solution to this. It's one of those things that I just have an issue with, but, there's nothing that I can do to change it. And I understand that. I get it. I accept it. But sometimes I wish that higher education was a right, and not just something that you can buy and purchase. Because I think knowledge is one of the most important things in this entire world. And the fact that you want to put a very hefty price tag on it, it bothers me. And that's where I have objection to it. Not education itself, but just the finances surrounding it. Student loans, likewise, are one of those things that is often incentivized to people. And, while you can't pay it now, get the student loan, and you can just pay it later, right? They make it sound so easy, so effortless, right? Well, I'll take that student loan, I'll get the degree, then I'll easily be able to find a job, and, then I'll just start earning those paychecks, and I'll be able to just pay off the student loan, get myself a house, maybe a better car, and, just be financially stable for life. That's what they try to tell you as a marketing gimmick. Student loans, in every regard, are an albatross. They never go away. They collect inordinate amounts of interest, and they will be stuck with you for a long, long time. Because a lot of the time, even when you do graduate from college, should you take that route, you very well may not get that job that you wanted. You might not get hired. You might try every opportunity, and no one's going to take you in, and now you have 30, 40, 50, 100,000 plus dollars in student loan debt that is constantly gathering interest, building more and more, and you feel like you don't know what to do. You could even file for bankruptcy, and you know what? Those student loans are still going to be there to have to get paid off. The thing that you need to realize that you will probably never get told at first, is if you sign up for a student loan, that thing is never going away. And chances are it's going to leave you with something that you're going to be stuck paying for the next 10, 15, or 20 years. It's a major, very important decision, and something that I think they try to market as being, oh, it's just something so easy to do, just get one and it'll all be good in the end. And I say that not to dismiss higher education or the opportunities financially that may allow you to pursue that, but rather my frustrations with that system in its entirety, because I feel that knowledge and education should be a right and not a business. So that's my 2 cents there. Personally, though, taking a break for a year or even 2 might not be a bad idea. It's something that comes down individually to every person. Everyone's different, and for some, taking that break may prove to be a valuable opportunity to recharge those batteries and get ready to pursue a higher education. Other times, taking that break may end up being a missed opportunity. So it certainly depends on the circumstances, but nonetheless, I think it's something that everyone individually needs to consider before just making that move because they feel that that's what they have to do. That's the wrong way to go about it. It's a major decision that you need to put a lot of careful thought and planning into before you make any single move. And as for going on an entrepreneurial route, entirely different. It's a shot in the dark. You have to understand that. And you have to understand that, like I was saying a few weeks ago, there's going to be one of 3 outcomes. It's going to succeed, it's going to fail, or it's going to be a stalemate and cancel itself out. And you need to prepare yourself mentally that any of these 3 outcomes will happen. And once you understand that, and you still feel like you want to give the green light on that, then it's up to you. But again, like all of this, I don't think it's something that you should do carefree and carelessly. Rather, it's something that you have to just put that careful thought into, and it will apply differently to everyone. So you just need to analyze your circumstances and go from there. Thank you, Nick, in Wildwood, Missouri, for your topic suggestion. Our final topic is a shorter one, but something that I do want to talk about, is from Jeff in Arizona. He writes, "You may not be doing topics again for a while, but here's one I'd really like to know if you're familiar or interested in. Esperanto, the international language. I think at one time ham radio folks were enthusiastic about this as an aid to conversing with someone on the other side of the planet. And Esperanto, it's one of those interesting concepts that was introduced that never really took off to the degree I think many people hoped that it would. I would wager now the major international language is English, perhaps Chinese as well, and you can't forget other major languages like Spanish, Arabic, French, Russian, German, Korean, Japanese, and so many more. But Esperanto was an initiative proposed decades ago to try to make an international language that has no borders, no restraints, one that can be understood and effectively used by all the people of the world. Unfortunately, as good as an idea it may have been at the time, I think it failed in part because a lot of people wondered, well, why not just use one of the already established languages that so many people already speak? And I think that's what really kind of killed that movement. The funny thing is, though, there are actually 2 shortwave stations that still broadcast in Esperanto, believe it or not. How many people actually listen to those broadcasts, the world will never know, but China Radio International and Radio Havana, Cuba both have broadcasts in Esperanto, I guess for whoever listens. So it's fascinating that while it may be, it may seem to be dead anyway, for so many people, if you're diligent enough, you can still find broadcasts on the airwaves in that language. I think that's pretty incredible, if you ask me. With that, before we give a shout out, this was an interesting little tidbit that was brought to me by AJ. He's a regular listener. He wanted to know my thoughts on the Myers-Briggs personality test. And he gave a link to, I guess, this website called 16personalities.com. And, I've heard of it before, and I've even taken the test before. I decided to take it again. But apparently, so the Myers-Briggs personality test, it's an introspective self-report questionnaire. In other words, really, it's a personality test, with the purpose of indicating different psychological preferences in how people perceive the world around them and make decisions. So you go through these questions and answers, and it'll allegedly tell you what your personality type is. And there are 16 possibilities of what you can be, and factoring into it is whether you are introverted or extroverted, whether you're intuitive or observant, whether you're more reliant on thinking or feeling, whether you are judging or prospecting, and whether you are assertive or turbulent. So I took the test, and I got the personality type this time around, INFP-T. And, it was an interesting test. The one thing that I think needs to be taken into consideration is I think so many people put so much behind these 4 letters, and they feel as though whatever result you got on this personality test is they will judge you upon it, and I completely disagree with that. I think it's an interesting test to take, but take it with a grain of salt. One thing to remember in regards to these personality tests is if you mark down the result of whatever you got, say you do take this, I believe it was said that 6 months from now, if you take it again, you very likely will get a different result. And it's funny because I can attest to that, where I remember I took this test back in 2012, and of course I've always been extremely introverted, so that I was still there, but a lot of everything else was different. I took it again in 2015, different result. I took it again just the other day, and a different result. So it's a fascinating thing, and I think it should be kept at that. It's fascinating, and that's that. The results of a test, you cannot base one's entire life upon that and make judgment based regarding that, because everyone's different, everyone's unique, every one of us have our own unique circumstances and just ways of dealing with life and with the world, be that good or bad. Now to a few shout-outs.